Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this special edition of Gentex Multimedia and Australian Indian Radio's live broadcast, live stream directly to your device, coming all the way from Brisbane. And this is 5th of the 5th, that's right, 5th of May. And the weather is not looking very good. It's a little bit wet, but let's really find out what's happening with the weather. And with that, let's welcome to Dilraj.
Good morning, everyone. Weather forecast for the rest of today is maximum 22 degree. Brisbane area is cloudy with very high chance of showers during the morning and early afternoon. There is chance of a thunderstorm in the morning and early afternoon. Light winds becoming southwesterly 15 to 20 km per hour in the middle of the day and then tending westerly 15 to 25 km per hour in the early afternoon. Fire danger is low to moderate. Sun protection is recommended till 10 to 2 in the afternoon and UV index is predicted to reach 4, that is moderate. Till tomorrow, stay safe and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you very much for that update, Dilraj. Well, right now, let's take a quick look at news and brief and let's see what is actually happening out there in the world.
Legal action against the federal government's controversial Indian travel ban could be launched as early as today. The ban has been slammed by conservative commentators, cricket stars and doctors and has devastated some members of the Indian community in Australia. Australians in India now face hefty fines or even jail if they try to return. All this comes as the Indian Premier League postponed competition as the country grapples with a humanitarian crisis, which is sadly not showing any signs of easing. Australians who face natural disasters will receive support from a new national body. More than $500 million has been allocated to the National Recovery and Resilience Agency, which will help communities rebuild and prepare for future disasters. The new overarching body was recommended by the Royal Commission into Australia's natural disaster arrangements. 3 regional hydrogen projects have been selected for a share of more than $100 million in federal government funding. The grants will see 2 hydrogen electrolysers built in WA and another in northern Victoria, which will use electricity to convert water into both hydrogen and oxygen. And one of the most popular waterfalls in Kakadu will be closed after traditional owners accused Parks Australia of having a lack of respect for its sacred sites. Gunlam Falls is at the centre of a court battle between the Aboriginal Areas Protection Authority and Parks Australia over alleged sacred site offences and the unauthorised construction of a walking track.
So there you are, up to date on Australian Indian Radio. That news brief there with the courtesy of IBC. Well, right now, so much has been said and so much has been happening with this program that Australian government put down the restrictions on or the travel ban till the 14th or 15th of May. Temporary measure, well, is it? And what are people saying? But right now, let's take a look at a message, a very special message from our Prime Minister to the Indian community.
But they are made with all Australians in mind, seeking to do the best in Australia's national interests.
I want to speak about national resilience today. And I'm speaking at a chamber.
I know that this is a very difficult time for Australians in our Indian community. You are a generous and kind community who have made a wonderful contribution to our country. You add a joyous dimension to Australia's national life. And we are very grateful to our Indian community. And I know this is a time of great pain and great fear, as many families in Australia have lost loved ones in India. You know that we are witnessing in India an unfolding humanitarian catastrophe. Over 390,000 new cases of COVID reported in just the last 24 hours. And that's why last week the Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Kelly, declared India a high-risk country for the purposes of travel arrangements into Australia. Throughout the pandemic, we have always taken decisions to keep Australians safe. These have been difficult decisions. They have ensured that here in Australia we have been able to lead the world in our response to the pandemic. These decisions are often very difficult, but they are made with all Australians in mind, seeking to do the best in Australia's national interests. To put these latest developments in some context, in the week before we put restrictions in place, 57% of COVID-19 positive cases in our quarantine systems had come from people arriving from India. That was up from 10%. Even more worrying, at the Howard Springs quarantine facility in the Northern Territory, the COVID-19 positive rate hit 15%, with almost all cases arriving from India. In other words, 1 in 7 people were testing positive. This was not sustainable. We needed to take action to prevent the continued significant rise in case numbers in our quarantine. The reason for that, particularly at Howard Springs, is because that is where we bring our chartered repatriation flights. That is where we can provide the greatest assistance in the future to getting people home safely from India. But to do that, we need to ensure that these facilities are ready to accept those flights again. So the risk, friends, was simply too great. I'd like to share with you our plan to deal with this very difficult situation. Firstly, we are putting in temporary, let me stress, temporary measures to keep Australia safe. Second, to provide support to Australians who are still in India. And third, to provide significant humanitarian assistance to our wonderful and good friends in India, an amazing and supportive ally of Australia in so many areas of our actions. Let me explain what we are doing with each of these strategies. Keeping Australians safe by implementing a temporary pause on travellers from India entering Australian territory if the passenger has been in India within 14 days of the person's scheduled flight departure to Australia. I want to stress that if you have been outside of India for 14 days, there is no restriction on you re-entering Australia. This only involves people who have been in India for 14 days prior to their embarkation on their journey to Australia. Now, this is a temporary pause while we get other measures in place to support people travelling from India to be able to travel safely home and to ensure that that can be accommodated here in Australia. We will reconsider this temporary pause on the 15th of May and are reviewing it every day between now and then. We've based this decision on clear medical advice from our Chief Medical Officer, as we have indeed based all our decisions throughout the course of the pandemic, whether it was to close our borders over 12 months ago. And we have used the biosecurity laws in these cases as well in so many areas. And we have exercised those significant powers very, very judiciously and very reasonably. You will not have heard of any Australian who has faced any jail time or any jail sentence as a result of the use of these powers. They are the extent of these powers, but these powers are being used in a very reasonable and responsible way. The incidence of COVID-19 is so high that it poses a real risk of further transmission within Australia's quarantine facilities. And it includes a risk to quarantine workers and health workers and the broader community. This is why we have had to take these actions. Some people have said that we didn't need to put in place the same measures when dealing with travellers from the UK or the United States or Italy. That was at the start of the pandemic. All the way through the pandemic, we have learnt more and more. And the more virulent strains that are now presenting, whether from India, where the situation is most chronic, or more broadly, is increasing the risk. I cannot see a third wave of the virus come here to Australia. And as Prime Minister, I need to take decisions that ensures that we protect Australia. The volume of cases in India is putting much more pressure on our quarantine system than previous waves across the world did. So the situation has changed. the risks are even greater. Our borders have proved to be a very strong barrier to COVID, and we are keeping them strong. My first priority is always to keep you and your families safe. In India, our consular staff, led by our High Commissioner Barry O'Farrell, are providing every support to the 9,000 registered Australians in India, including the 900 considered vulnerable. Over the course of the pandemic, we have already supported and facilitated, including in direct flights, some 20,000 Australians registered with DFAT having returned from India. And we have support measures in place through our hardship fund, which includes financial assistance. When the temporary pause is lifted, and it will, passengers on future flights will be required to have both a negative COVID-19 PCR test result and a negative rapid antigen test result prior to embarkation. We are putting those arrangements in place now. And lastly, but very importantly, we are providing emergency supplies to our friends in India. India is a great friend of Australia. Australia is a great friend of India. Our first package of support, and I stress this is just the first one, it's just the start, includes over 1,000 non-invasive ventilators and 100 oxygen concentrators. There is a capacity to deploy up to 3,000 ventilators to everyone in the Australian Indian community. I want to say thank you for your understanding. I know this is a hard decision. I know that it is causing concern. These are not easy decisions for governments to make in the middle of a raging pandemic. But I want to assure you we will continue to stand with you in the coming months, and we will stand with India, providing medical supplies and needed assistance and bringing Australians home when we can safely do so again. And we're not far away from that point. We will restore those repatriation flights from India. We will bring Australians of Indian heritage who are in India now, we will get them home. It will take time. We must work together. We must do it safely. I want to thank you for your patience and your understanding.
Authorised by S. Morrison, Liberal Party, Canberra.
And that is wonderful news that is sending so many supplies to India.
Is so dependent on our national resilience to disasters. And so I think it is a very relevant economic topic here in the North, and one foundational, I think, to life here in the North. And that is why I've chosen to be here in Northern Australia to make these announcements today. Resilience always starts...
And we'll come back to that report from Townsville where the Prime Minister is speaking. Right now we'll go to Sydney, Joginder Singh Vaig, and get his perspective on this lockdown and what his thoughts are.
Dr. Virk, thanks for being with us tonight. How is the Australian Indian community perceiving this travel ban?
They are very much frustrated and they are feeling left out and second-class citizens feeling out sitting in India, saying that why Australian government has abandoned us. So that's the perception, and perception is more than a truth. That's what people are thinking right now in India.
What would you like to see the Morrison government do at this point?
No, I want to see some blueprint how those people will come back in next 1 month. Everyone is talking about 15th May, but I have not seen any blueprint after 15th May. How will they bring those people there? If one flight, there's no direct flight, Air India has stopped. In Air India flight, there's only 40 passengers can come in. What is the scenario? Spirit of Australia is Qantas. So right now people are feeling there's no Spirit of Australia. That Spirit of Australia is missing. That's what people are looking to, those things, but people are very upset. People don't know when they come back now. And in India, every day there are 500,000 cases and 5,000 people are dying and there's no oxygen, no beds. If something happens there in India, who will be responsible?
What do you say to the federal government's position that it's necessary to protect the health of the 25 million Australians here in Australia and that the repatriation will take place when the quarantine facilities here are ready to go?
No, I think we have a bulletproof quarantine system in Australia. That's what we are saying that for last 1 year. We can bring them into Christmas Islands. We can bring into Darwin. We can bring them to another places as well. Where if we don't want to bring them in Melbourne, Sydney, the big places, but at least, or we can bring them to Singapore at least, right? Singapore, they can have a quarantine in Singapore for 2 weeks, and then bring them here for another week or so quarantine, something like this. So I think Singapore is ready. I have got a call from few senators today, and they said. Singapore is ready as well to take Australians back as well from India or for any other country for the quarantine. It is the issue is right now in India is people are morally disappointed that $55,000 fine, 6 months jail term. People are feeling US, Canada, and UK are taking their people back from India, right? But we are banning them come to India. Banning them come to Australia back. That is not the right way to do it. Yesterday I was listening to one interview of a cabinet minister in Australia. They said the COVID cases are high because Indians are coming there. Mate, they are not Indians. They are Australians who are coming back here. We should check. The message should be loud and clear. You are our people. Yes, let them wait there for 2 weeks, 4 weeks. But these type of statements, people think we are left out and we are second-class citizens. That's what the feeling what people have right now in India.
We have this decision banning Australians from coming back to Australia. At Christmas, we saw the Victorian government banning Victorians from returning to their homes if they were outside the border. Do you think that there are any grounds on which Australians should be barred from returning to their homes?
No way. Australians should not be barred from coming from. If you see the first page of Australian passport, it gives us rights to come back to Australia, and that right is given by Her Excellency Queen from UK, and that passport is given by the Governor General of Australia, and that is everyone's moral right to come back to Australia, and no one can stop us for doing that.
Dr. Virk, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
That is Joginder Singh Vaik from Sydney. Well, right now let's go to India and take a look at what's happening there as UNICEF's rep, Dr. Yasmin, reports from Delhi.
What we face in India is a dire episode in the whole pandemic of COVID-19. It's 4 times what we saw in 2020. And the need for oxygen, for hospital beds, for testing has really gone way beyond the capacity to deliver. So we're seeing heartbreaking pictures of people desperate for treatment facilities, and we're seeing the cases soaring. So it's really an issue where even though it's not the face of a child when you see a COVID case, it's the consequences of what's happening to their parents, to their grandparents, to not just health-wise, but their livelihoods, their daily routine, the loss of learning, and of course the psychological trauma that they are facing. So for kids, this is really a grave time here in India.
As per that report, of what's happening right there on the ground and what's going to happen with that. So, moving on, here's some good news for you. Well, as we know, Rashays, the pizza company, and they have come on board, and this offer is on till 11 p.m. tonight. What is that offer? Let's find out. So, ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Australian Indian Radio, and in our community segment today, we have something very interesting to talk about, and we're going to be talking about, cricket and pizzas as well. So, with that, I'd like to welcome to the studio the owner and founder of Rashays Modern Aussie Faves. As we know, us Indians, we love cricket, but now we also love pizzas as well. So, that's our growing craze. So, Rami, once again, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, your pleasure, mate. Thank you for having me.
No, it's wonderful to have you. So, I've just been doing a bit of reading about you, So, 1998, launched the company, and now we've got so many different, about 30 locations throughout there. And, of course, you're coming into Queensland as well.
Umesh, we're already in Queensland. We have a couple of stores in. You've got one in
Ipswich. You got one in Ipswich, one in Toombul.
Ipswich, and Redbank. There you go.
There you go. You've done well. Now, so, of course, we know at this point in time, what's happening in India is quite unfortunate. And last night we had a candlelight vigil, which I organized in King George Square in Brisbane, and it was amazing turnout. It was a candlelight vigil, so everyone's doing their little bit. So tell us about what you have in plan and in your way of supporting this cause.
Brother, I've got to be completely frank with you from the start. We've been watching on the news and watching the tragedy of what's going on. My background is Lebanese, so I'm from Tripoli, Lebanon. And we are also suffering, and it's sort of out of sight, out of mind. And I feel guilty because we've been watching the news about India, and we have been watching the suffering and everything going on. And I'm quite embarrassed, I sort of have done nothing about it. It's like something that's so far away, and we're so concentrated and focused on our life. And this morning I wake up, and I've always got the television on when I sleep. I sleep with the TV on. And the very first thing that comes up, I see the face of Pat Cummins, who's a fantastic Australian cricketer. And I see Mark Taylor, and I realise that in the Pat Cummins team, there's people who are affected by COVID. And it just hits me. Like, just because we are not in India today, just because we are not there, it does not mean we need to be supporting each other. India is such a wonderful part of who we are, who our society is today. As a matter of fact, 1 in 10 people who work for me are Indians, And the link of cricket just made me click. We are humanity. We are one. And we love you guys. We love Indians like how we love each other as Aussies. And it made me realize, what can I do to support what is going on in India at the moment?
That is, like you said, is part of something which we said last night was, when people come up with that feeling of let's do something, let's see what I can do, and all of a sudden, like you mentioned, that it just dropped on you that, hey, I have not done anything, and what can I do? So, what have we in plan for this?
Brother, look, there is nothing I can do massively. We're going to try financially, God willing. We're going to try and, I estimate, we did something similar in our business, and we were able to raise around $30,000 to $50,000. And that is the goal that we have set for the next 24 hours in our business. By getting people to come in and buy a vegetarian pizza, it's for $5. It's way below cost. But it's not so much the money for me, I think, that we're going to put together for you guys. It's a fact that we're going to make people aware of what is going on in India. And as Aussies, it goes back to cricket. We love to beat you in the cricket, but we definitely don't want to see COVID beat you guys. And hopefully we could just create a bit of awareness.
And that is such a nice gesture. Well, of course, cricket, I don't know about beating us, but that's taken on board. And of course, now that you've mentioned the target and the time frame, we will do what we can to get this message out into the community that this is happening, and support you to do what you have set out to do. And last night our mayor promised, pledged $10,000 on the night as we did. So that's a good gesture. And of course we know that a lot of the oxygen concentrators are needed at this point in time, and every little bit will help. Sometimes people say, there's something happening at government to government level, but now I say no. Each and everyone can make a difference. Each and every one of us can do something. So, good on you for coming up with this idea and this pledge. So we will get this on straight away. To distribute it to many people as we can through all our database and all the channels available. And it is very such a good cause.
And like what I said, for me, it's not the financial thing. It's just creating community awareness. And I just want people to realise that this COVID thing is, we're all in it together. It doesn't matter whether you're from the subcontinent, whether you're from the Middle East, I don't care where you're from. We are stuck in this together. And above all, we are humans, and humanity is what counts. And if I know I can't solve all the problems, but if I could just do my little bit, it'll make my heart feel a lot better. And that's, I guess, what I'm trying to do.
Okay, so just for all our listeners and viewers who might have joined in now, so what is that deal? The deal is?
The deal is very simple. The deal is come into any Rashays, get a $5 pizza, which we aim to give all the money back to whatever Indian, Red Cross India, whoever we can. We are working with Penny Appeal. We are working with local people who can help get the money out to the right people. And like what I said, we just want to create awareness, and just, that's all it is. So just go into your local Rashays in Brisbane, in Redbank, Ipswich, Toombul, any of the ACT stores, anywhere in Sydney. And even, I'll say more, don't worry about Rashays. Go out to your local restaurant, go out to your local Indian restaurant or any restaurant and encourage them and ask them what can they be doing to create more awareness for the beautiful country that you guys have.
Rami, thank you so much for your generosity and for this idea. We will get this out as soon as we can. And of course, as Rami said, go out to any of the Rashays outlet and the $5 pizza, the vegetarian $5 pizza sold from now till tomorrow, did you say?
Yeah, we'll extend it till tomorrow till 11 p.m. All our stores are open late. They're open for breakfast, but we'll extend it to you guys till 11 p.m. And we thought it's the best option on the menu. We have a wide variety of menu, but we thought the vegetarian pizza sort of says something. It connects a little bit with the majority of the Indian community.
Well, definitely it does. And once again, like I said, thank you very much for this wonderful thing that you're doing. We'll get this out to as many people as we can very soon. Thank you so much for being on the show.
I've got something I've got to show off. This is something I bought in auction. So if you remember the test match, you're right. India did beat the Aussies. But if you remember Mohammad Siraj, he had a little incident with the Australian crowd recently at the SCG.
Yes.
And I was present. And I made it my goal to make sure that I bought his signed hat, which also represents the Glenn McGrath Foundation. So the Indian cricket team is definitely close to my heart as well, brother.
Well, it is. Thank you so much, brother, and thanks for wonderful. That's doing that. Let's get this message out without wasting any more time, and let's see if we can get everyone behind this fundraising project that you've so generously launched.
Thank you for every opportunity. Thank you for the opportunity today. Thank you so much. Good luck with everything.
That's it. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Isn't that a very, very kind gesture? And of course, what an amazing man he is. He does his own podcasting there as well. And it was wonderful that, he did reach out to us. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's about all we have for you in this segment. But before we go, I would like to leave you with all the functions and events that are taking place right here in Brisbane. So let's take a look. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your company and for being with us for this segment. And of course, at 10 a.m. we had the real estate update with Usa Chandra. You can go back and watch any of the past episodes. You can search through our Facebook page, you'll find them. Or you can go to our YouTube channel, which might be a little bit easier if you were trying to find ones, because they're more categorized there with not many posts except for our daily life posts. That's all there is there. So that way it's a little bit easier to find. If you want to look at any of the past episodes, you can go and have a look there. So, the key things is that the Prime Minister has announced, that on 15th of May, this temporary measure that's been put in place will cease. Well, of course, that is subject to everything else, conditional upon, things improving in India and other things. And of course, he has mentioned that they will not be exercising the rights in any, uncivilized manner. They will always look at the cases and their individual circumstances as well. And above all, the 2 shipments of things that have gone from Australia to India, that is really, really appreciated. That's the help that I was talking about, government to government level, where they can just get a plane over there ASAP, rather than community organizations trying to organize that. Of course, I know we can, and every little bit that goes there will help. And don't get me wrong. So please keep doing that. But what we'd like to see more is this government-to-government scale, where they can just, bypass a lot of red tape and get stuff there ASAP. So, that's what the Australian government has done. And, of course, we have seen supplies coming from UK and US and other places as well. So everyone's coming to the aid of India. So until tomorrow, it's goodbye from me. Enjoy the rest of this wet day, but in Brisbane it is wet. So enjoy the day the best you can, but most importantly, remain safe. Until tomorrow, it's goodbye from me.